Today we're going to dive into a topic that's shaking things up. The automotive industry, the brands that could disappear in the next few years. We're not talking about rumors or speculation. Vague. We're going to analyze concrete data, sales trends, and corporate decisions that paint a worrying picture for some brands we all know. Are you ready to be surprised? Because what we're going to reveal today could completely change your perspective on some legendary brands. Before we dive into the details, I need to clarify something crucial. This analysis focuses specifically on the North American market. However, in your country, a situation similar to what I'm going to discuss in this video could be happening. Some of these brands will continue to be powerhouses in Europe, Asia, or their home countries. But in the United States and Canada, the situation is very different. And it's important to understand why. Let's start with Alfa Romeo, a brand that perfectly exemplifies how even historical prestige doesn't guarantee success. A decade ago, in 2015, Alfa Romeo made a triumphant return to the United States after 20 years of absence. To put it in perspective, the last time Alfa Romeo sold cars in the United States, the internet was just starting to become common in households. Smartphones didn't even exist. Their return was spectacular. First came the 4C, a sports car that reminded us of the brand's best days. Then came the Giulia, a sedan that shook BMW to its core. I'm not exaggerating. The first reviews of the Giulia or Quadrifoglio placed it above the BMW M3 in terms of driving experience. The Stelvio completed the initial trinity, offering an SUV that drove like a sports car when all the other luxury SUVs felt like boats. But this is where the story takes an interesting turn. As BMW launched a new generation of the 3 Series, then another, and then again updated its technology, Alfa Romeo was still selling essentially the same Giulia as in 2015. Yeah, there were minor updates, but nothing substantial. The infotainment technology, which was already criticized back in 2015, became embarrassingly outdated. Quality problems, which Alfa fans had justified as part of the Italian character, were no longer acceptable in a market where even budget brands offer impeccable finishes. The Stelvio suffered the same fate. From being the most exciting SUV to drive in its segment, it became the one that dealers practically gave away with astronomical discounts. And you know what's the saddest part? The Tonale, their new compact crossover, is based on the Dodge Hornet. Yeah, you heard that right. An Italian premium brand based on a Dodge. It's like if Romeo made a watch based on a Timex and tried to charge a luxury price for it. The reality is that this is Yantis, the conglomerate that owns Alfa Romeo. It seems to have no idea what to do with the brand in North America. Meanwhile, BMW offers 7 different SUVs, from the 11th to the 17th, plus several electric models, while Alfa has a total of 3 models, and none of them are among the best sellers in their segment. Let's move on to Buick, a brand that perfectly illustrates the problem of not having a clear identity. General Motors' structure used to make sense. Chevrolet was the people's brand, Pontiac was the sports division. Oldsmobile was the technology brand, Cadillac was American luxury, and Buick, well, Buick was the stepping stone to Cadillac. But in 2024, what is Buick? Exactly. GM keeps 3 main brands, Chevrolet for the general market, Cadillac for luxury, and GMC for trucks and premium SUVs. The existence of GMC is fascinating in itself. It basically came about because Buick and Pontiac dealers were complaining that they couldn't sell anything. PQ tracks, like Chevrolet dealerships. So GM created GMC to give them something to sell. But today, what is the purpose of Buick? GM executives have for years justified Buick's existence by its popularity in China. And it is true, in China, Buick is a prestigious brand with a completely different product line. But in North America, Buick has been reduced to selling crossovers, made in China, that directly compete with Chevrolet and GMC models. The lineup. Buick's current situation is confusing, even for car enthusiasts. They have the Envista, the Envision, the Encore, and the Enclave. They all start with N, for some mysterious reason, and they're all basically variations on the same theme. Crossovers that aren't premium enough to justify their price nor accessible enough to compete with mainstream brands. Buick has tried to reinvent itself several times over the past few decades. Their most recent strategy was to position themselves as an alternative to YP and a youthful option to BMW, but with more affordable prices. The problem is that nobody associates Buick with youth or sportiness. The brand carries decades of image as the car for grandparents. and not even aggressive discounts have managed to change that perception. Let's move on to Chrysler, and this story is particularly painful for fans of American cars. Chrysler, a brand that once competed directly with Cadillac and Lincoln, that gave us icons like the 300 and the PT Cruiser, love it or hate it, but it was an icon, is now reduced to just one model, the Pacifica minivan. When you go to the Chrysler website, the first thing you see is minivans, hybrid minivans, and the 300. But the 300 has already been discontinued, so they're really just minivans. And yes, the Pacifica is a competent minivan, even excellent in its segment. But does it make sense to maintain an entire brand with its dealer network, marketing, and operating costs to sell a single model? The irony is that the Pacifica could easily be sold as a Dodge. In fact, Dodge has a rich history in minivans with the Caravan. But this Yantis keeps the Chrysler brand alive. Presumably because the name allows them to charge a premium over what people would pay for a Dodge. It's a questionable strategy when you consider all the costs associated with keeping a separate brand. Fiat is another fascinating case of how a brand can fail even when it does some things right. When Fiat returned to North America in 2012 with the 500, it was an instant hit. It was the perfect time. Gas prices were high. Small cars were in style. And the 500 offered Italian style at an affordable price. But Fiat made the classic mistake of many trendy car brands. They didn't have a plan beyond the initial success. The 500 was adorable. But what else? They tried to expand the line with the 500X, a crossover, and the 500L, a sort of compact minivan, but neither captured the magic of the original 500. It's the same problem that Volkswagen faced with the new Beetle and that Mini faces. When your brand is built around a single iconic model, what do you do next? Now Fiat is attempting a reboot with an electric version of the 500, but the market has changed dramatically. Electric car buyers have many more options now, and the novelty of the retro design just isn't enough to drive sales anymore. Infiniti represents perhaps the clearest case of how a brand can lose its way. In the early 2000s, Infiniti was the most exciting Japanese luxury brand. The G35 didn't just compete with the BMW 3 Series. In many ways, it surpassed it. It was more powerful, more agile, and had a bolder design. The FX was equally revolutionary, an SUV that actually drove like a sports car, years before that became common. But while Lexus continued to refine its products and expand its lineup, while Akira found its niche in the affordable luxury market, Infiniti seemed lost. They changed all their model names to a queue-based naming system that confused buyers. Their products became technologically outdated. And the most worrying part is that they became dependent on sales incentives. This last point is crucial. A luxury brand should generate healthy margins. Lexus takes Toyota platforms, significantly improves them, and charges a justifiable premium. But Infiniti seems unable to command premium prices, which suggests that buyers don't see the added value in the brand. Mitsubishi is perhaps the clearest case of a brand that has lost its reason for being in the North American market. In the 1990s, Mitsubishi had a clear identity. They were the creators of the Evolution, a sports sedan that competed with the Super WRX. The 3000 GT was a serious competitor to the Toyota Supra. The Montero was a capable SUV that earned the respect of off-road enthusiasts. But today, what is Mitsubishi? Their standout product is the Outlander, an SUV that mainly sells because it's cheaper than the competition. The Mirage is consistently rated as one of the worst new cars you can buy, surviving solely on its low price. It's a dangerous position to be in. When your only selling point is the low price, you're at the mercy of any competitor who decides to be more aggressive with their pricing. And as a bonus, let's talk about Mini. This is a different situation because Mini still has significant resources thanks to BMW, but they face an existential challenge. The modern Mini Cooper was a phenomenal success when it was launched. It combined retro charm with modern technology and an exceptional driving experience. Enthusiasts loved it, and people looking for something different loved it. It was the perfect car for multiple demographics. But Mini has grown literally. Their cars are getting bigger and bigger, heavier and more expensive. The current Mini Cooper is significantly larger than the modern original from 2001, and don't even get me started on comparing it to the classic Mini from the 60s. They have tried to expand the brand with various models. The Countryman, an SUV, the Clubman, a wagon. They even experimented with a coupe and a roadster. But each step takes them further away from what made the brand special. First of all, to conclude, these brands face fundamental challenges that go beyond simple product cycles or temporary market conditions. Some could reinvent themselves with the right investment. Others could be absorbed by stronger brands. And some could simply disappear from the North American market. The question isn't whether these brands will disappear, but when and in what order. Which one do you think will be the first to fall? Is there any that you think could be saved with the right strategy? Leave your opinions in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more in-depth analyses like this one. See you in the next video.